Right, welcome back. In this video, we will see if we can complete all the UI elements to work as they are supposed to, because we've done all the services to help us to do everything in the background. Okay, so the first thing that we will need to do, we'll remember that we log in a new user, and when you log in a user on the login screen, it goes down and you will see there's the login button. So for the login button, this elevated button, we run this login user in UI. So if we quickly go to this, you can see we pass in the email and the password. So as soon as we log in a user, it runs this, it sends through the email and the password. We check if the email and the password is empty. If it is, we say, please enter both fields. The else, we actually go to the user service called login user and we log in that user. If there's a fault, so we could not log in or authenticate that person, we will show the snack bar with the related message. The else part, you remember we added this comment there. The else part is the user can now be taken to the to-do page. But when he's taken to the to-do page, we must load the to-dos for that user. So this is the first step that we need to complete now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use context.read, and I want to go and read now from the to-do service, because in the to-do service, we've got a function called getToDos. And we need to get the to-dos for the specific user. So do we have the info of this specific user? Well, we passed in the email. And when we get to this else here, we know that he is authenticated. So I'm going to just pass in that email. So passing in that email will now, as soon as the user logs in, will get the to-dos for the user. And then if we look at get to-dos, it will go and set the to-dos for us, so we can display them here. Okay, so that is the first part, login user in UI. So another way the user can get into the app and to this page, two ways, either log in the user or it happens automatically, which means in the loading screen, you remember, we call this function initialize app, which is in this init class. We call initialize app, it initializes with your keys. It checks if the user is logged in. If the user is logged in, we take them to the to-do page. So the same thing here needs to happen. We need to get the list of to-dos before we take him to the to-do page. Okay, so basically the same thing again. We're going to say context.read. We want to read again from the to-do service. In the to-do service, there's a function called getToDos, and we just need to use the username. Now, do we actually have a username now? So that is the big problem. So what did we do in this one? So if we hover over that one, hold down Control and click, check if the user is logged in, what did we do? Okay, we checked first if it's a valid login, and then we needed to find out the current user object ID, and then from the current object ID, we found that user, and then we set the current user as that user. So the info for this user will be in current user. Okay, so we can go and get that current user inside of the user service. So let's go do that. We're going to go to context.read. Now it is in the user service, and in the user service, there's a current user. Current user can be null, so I'm just forcing it. It won't be null if we get to this step and we get the email address of that specific user. And then we're done. So we will get the to-dos for that specific user that has been automatically logged into the system. Right, so we can save this class, and I think we will be able to get the to-dos now, whether the user logs in using his username and password, or whether he comes back to the app and we need to get his to-dos again. Right, so now let's go to the to-do page and set up a few things there. So if you start at the top, you will see that if we go down, we've got the refresh icon. So that's the refresh icon. What will happen? We will click. When we click it, it runs refresh to-dos in UI. So you can see we have this set up already. So if you go there, it will refresh, it will get the to-dos and so forth. So that one was done already. Okay, and then if you go to save, you can see I've called the correct function there already for you. Save all to-dos in the UI. We've done that one already. So that will save everything to Backendless. If you click on the add, so that's the add button there, we will create a new to-do, save enter to do, cancel. When you click on cancel, so let me just open up that one. When you click on cancel, it will just pop off the context. If you click on save, it will go and say create new to do in UI. So that's also done for us. So nothing we need to do here. It's already working. Okay. If you go down, you can see there's an exit to app. It's that one there, and that logs out the user. We did that in the previous video. Right, so the next part that we actually need to do is I don't want to see John's to-do list here. I want to see the actual user's name as he registered and show his to-do list there. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to take this whole, let me just put a comma there as well and save again so it's nicely formatted. For this whole text widget, I'm going to cut out this text widget. So just see where I actually selected. So it's from this, you see there's the comment for text. So it's from there up until there. I'm going to cut it out. So for the child, I want to use a selector now. So remember, we want to go and have a look at a specific value here. And the specific value here is the current user. Okay, so where are we going to get that current user? We get that current user inside of the user service. Okay, so for the selector, we need to go and have a look at the user service class. And we want to look at a backendless user. That backendless user can in fact be null. Okay, so let's just add, not sure if it's actually picking up this backendless user now. Let's just try this backendless user again. Backendless user. Yeah, let's just select it from there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so in this case, we have a problem now because backendless user or backendless has got a selector, and we also have a selector as part of provider. So let's just quickly see how we can sort out this error. So at the top where we have provider, I'm going to use this as provider. So I'm just going to add an as there at the top as provider. And then if I go down, instead of just saying selector there, I'm going to say provider.selector. Okay, let me just go to this one also, provider.selector. Okay, so the import statement at the top, you can have an alias for it by just using the as keyword there. So for this provider at the top, I'm going to say as provider. So if I'm referring to provider's selector, then it's going to be provider.selector. But if I want to refer to backendless selector, which I don't know what that is, then you just refer to selector. Okay, so let's go down. So this one is provider selector. Now, when we have another error, we need builder and selector, and that's an error that we can sort out. Okay, so as part of the selector then, we're going to have the selector there, and the selector will just be context, comma, value. And the value that we want to return here must be of this type, backendless user, and that is the current user. So I'm just going to go to value.current user. Okay, so let's just have a look at this. If I talk about value there, you can see it's in the user service. So the selector works this way. The user service is where you want it. That's the value. And then the specific value that you want to look at, in this case, will be backendless user. So if I hover over it, it's user service. So user service dot current user gets me this backendless user. Okay, now let's go to builder. For the builder, we'll have context, we'll have value, and we'll have the child. Right, let's have the opening and closing brace, and remember we need to return something. So we want to return that text widget that we cut out now. But the first thing is this backendless user can be null, although it should not be when we get here. But let's just test for it. So I'm going to say if this value is in fact equal to null, then we're going to do something. Then I'm just going to show an empty container. The else part will be that text widget that we cut out and just end it off with a semicolon. So if you save, let's just quickly go through this again. I'm basically checking this value is the backendless user now. So it's this one there. You can see it's a backendless user. If the backendless user is for some reason, which I don't think it will ever be, if it is null, we will just show a container, which means we won't show anything there. That text will not be there. Otherwise, we will just, well, we could have said a text widget there that just says to-do list instead of adding the guy's name. So maybe you can change it to that. I'm not going to change it now. And then the text widget will then just show if the value is not equal to null, we will have John's to-do list. But now we don't want to show John's there. So how can we do this? How can we change this one value? Okay, so let's go back. We use the $, string interpolation, and let's see how we can do this. So I'm going to go to this value. So what is this value now? Value is the backendless user. And we know for the backendless user, if you put the dot there, we can have an email, we can have a password, but there's some properties also. And you remember when we saved, let's go to the user service again. When we log in a new user, let me just see where we create a user. When we're creating a new user, we're actually passing in a backendless user. So let's just go to register quickly, where we create a new user in the UI. So what happens here? You can see that when we're creating a new backendless user, we set the email and the password, but we had to use put properties in order to get the name of the person. So if you look at backendless, if you go to the users table, you remember that we added a name property there, and that's the name I want to display here. Right, let's go back. Let's go back to the to-do page. So that value dot, and we're going to call get property here. So we want to get a property. The key for that property, we called it name. Okay, so this will then get back from the current user. I'm getting the property called name. And that name property, I want to be displayed here. Okay, so maybe we want to have then the / again with the S there. So it will be whoever's to-do list. Okay, so this is how we then show the current user that's logged in's username on the screen, or not the username, the actual name of the user. Okay, let's save this one. Okay, so you can see it's Chuck's to-do list. I'm logged in with Chuck, and already I can see the changes there. Okay, so let's go down to this list view next. So we get the to-do lists for Chuck at this stage, and we know on the web page for the specific user, Chuck, it's empty. We don't have any to-dos there. Right, so let's go back. Right, so what I want you to do again is for this whole child, let me just put a comma there also. So for this listview.builder, I'm going to cut out this whole listview.builder again. So let's cut it out. Right, after cutting this, I will be using the consumer in this case. So I'm going to use provider. Let's say provider dot, and we want to use consumer. Okay, so for consumer then, what we want to have a look at, so just put your bracket and your comma there. For the consumer, we want to go and have a look at the to-do service. Now, if you hover over this one, you will see that it requires the builder. So let's go into the brackets and we add the builder there. Now, for the builder, we will need a context. There will be a value and there will be a child. And let's add the brackets at the end, the curly brackets, opening and closing. Okay, and now if you hover over this value, you can see it's the whole to-do service class. And now we can just go and return, paste that listview.builder, and end it off with a semicolon at the end. Okay, so let's see what we can change here. So the item count is the number of items. So I'm going to go to value. Inside of this to-do service class, we have the list of to-dos. And we just need to get the length of them. Okay, so that's the item count. If you go to the item builder, we're going to use the to-do card, the title there, or not the title, it's actually this whole to-do there. So I'm just going to remove this whole to-do because we can get the to-do from the to-do list. Let me just make sure I get that whole thing there, from there to there, delete it, just put the comma there. Okay, so this to-do will again come from value dot to-dos. And I want to have the to-do at the specific index. So let's just refer to the specific index there. Okay, so value is the class, to-dos is the to-dos for the specific user, and the index is the index where we're currently at to building this. Okay, so we've got the index, and then we've got toggle, the to-do toggle action and the delete action. So these two, let's just do them also. To toggle or to do the to-do toggle action, we will just use the toggle to do done function that we created as part of the to-do service. So we're going to go to context.read indicate the to-do service, and then use the function called toggle to do done. And we just need to pass in the index value that we already have there. Okay, and that will toggle it for us. So if you forgot about this one, just click on it. It's this small toggle to do done. And the next one we will also do is the delete to do. So we're just calling these two functions. Okay, so the next one, there's the delete one. Exactly the same thing. We're also going to have context dot read. We will read again from the to-do service. And we're going to call toggle to do done. No, not toggle, sorry. This is deleting. Let's call delete to do. And we're going to pass in the to do. So where do I get the to do that I need to pass in? It's the one that we're currently at. And it's the same as we did there. Okay, so that's how we get the to do. So in order to do that, we're going to go to value dot to dos. That gets me all of the to dos, but I want the specific one at this index and I want to delete it. Okay, and that takes care of this whole thing. And you can see as soon as I save, Chuck's to-do list is empty. Right, so far so good. Seems like everything is working so far. So when we swipe or we click on the check mark, we will toggle the to-do to done, and the delete action will be deleting the to-do. That's when you swipe it and you click on the delete. At the bottom, we've got this provider for the select of the user service, and it's basically when we click on this button there, it logs out the user and it shows a quick progress. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to actually copy this whole thing. So copy that whole one, and we're going to use it again. So there will be a second app progress indicator. But at this stage, we're not going to look at the user service. We're going to look at the to-do service. Okay, we're still going to use tuple 2 because there's two things that we will have a look at. So not the show user progress, but the busy retrieving, and the other one was busy saving. Okay, so we're going to have a look at busy retrieving and busy saving. And then you'll see this value is the tuple, and item 1 will be busy retrieving, item 2 will be busy saving. Okay, so let's have a quickly look at this. So if the value dot item 1 is true, then we're going to show the app progress indicator. And the text that I want to show here, I'm just going to add or enter the text manually here. So the text I want to show is busy retrieving data from the database. ... Please wait. Okay, so that is for the progress or the app progress indicator if item 1 is true. So item 1 is busy retrieving. So if we're busy retrieving, this is the text that's going to show. The else, I want to use this same thing again. So I'm going to take this app progress indicator and paste it here. But first I want to test. So I'm going to say if the value dot item 2 is true with a question mark. If it's true, we're going to show this one. And at the end, else, we're just going to show an empty container. Okay, let me just save this again. So there we've got it. So we've got the app progress indicator. If item 1 is true, which means we're busy retrieving, so we're going to say busy retrieving data from the database, please wait. But if item 2 is true, then it's busy saving. So let's change the text for this one to busy saving. Busy saving data to the database. Please wait. Okay, and if that one is not true and this one is also not true, then we show a normal container. Okay, just something empty there. And I think then we are basically done for this one. So let's see what we've got now. I'm going to rerun this application quickly and just see what we've got. So we are logged in with Chuck. And you can see we were busy retrieving the data there. Okay, so we've got nothing currently. If we click on refresh, busy retrieving data, data successfully retrieved, there's nothing. Why is there nothing? Because there is nothing for this Chuck. I'm not sure which one are we actually referring to here, but we'll see now. Let's create a new to-do. So I'm going to use the plus sign there. And let's say we want to go and buy some milk. I'm going to save it, and you can see buy milk is already there. But you can see nothing changed online. I mean, you can even refresh here, and you can see nothing changed. That's because we first need to click on save. So let's add another to-do there. Let's add buy milk again, and you can see it's going to tell me it's a duplicate value. So let's say buy rice, something like that. Okay, or we can go and say pick up the kids. Right, so there's the few to-dos, and nothing gets saved unless you click the save button. So now it's saving, busy saving, and you can see directly we've got it there. So you can see the first element, done as 0, done as 0, and done as 0, which means not even one of them has been ticked off. Okay, we've got the title, pick up kids, we've got created, which is the date there. You can see 14/10/2021 is converted to an integer year with that millisecond since epoch. So we're saving this online. Okay, no problem at all. So let's just refresh this to make sure that we get the data back again, and you can see the data is still working 100% when getting it back. Now let's see if we can change it. So if I click on that one, I've changed this one and this one. So buy milk and pick up kids have been changed. So let's save it again, and let's see if we can see that change. Pick up kids is done, and buy milk is done. The one has been changed. So yes, we can change it. And then let's say we want to remove buy milk, and we want to remove pick up kids because we're done with it. And we save our list back again, and then you can see we only have buy rice left. So creating it, reading it, deleting it, and updating it is working quite fine. So let's log out the user here. So let's use Chuck, I think it's Chuck at Gmail. So let's use chuck.norris@gmail.com. And we're going to have his password. I can't remember his password. I think it's 123. There we go in. And you can see it's also Chuck. Both is called Chuck. But he's got an empty to-do list. If I log out this Chuck and I log back in the other one, chuck@gmail.com. Password is also 123. Logging him in gets me buy rice. Okay, everything seems to be working. So let's just rerun this application quickly again. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to rerun it and see when the user is then logged in, takes us in, and it retrieves Chuck's to-do list. Okay, so from my point of view, everything seems to be working. So maybe you can pick up something else and then you can add it in the comments, and maybe I can change the project again. But at this stage, it seems as if this project is working as expected. Now, maybe one thing that you wanted to do different than me is to not have the save button there. And let's say that every time you make a change, you want to actually go and save it. And you don't want to have a save button, so it must save automatically in the background. So what you can do then is to go, instead of having to call this function where we save, let me just go there. So in this helper to do, every time you click on save all to dos in UI, you can actually leave out this whole function called save all to dos in UI and just call the save to do entry every time there's a change. So for example, if we go to the to-do service in here, when you toggle, you can actually call this save to do entry and set that value to false. And you can do it the same here in delete, and you can do it the same in create. And then you are changing and updating the data live. But remember, every time then I just do this tick there, I will be sending new data to backendless, which means it's an API call. But if you are on, if you're on Cloud 99, you've got this number of APIs per month, and I've used 51 already. So it will be counting upwards. If you're using the Springboard plan, the APIs per month is nothing because it's unlimited. So then it doesn't really make a difference. But if you're using your own application, just think about your number of APIs per month. Okay, so the way I'm doing it currently is the user needs to go and click on the save button. So it's only one API for maybe 20 changes he made. Okay, so just think about that. So that's something that you can maybe change. So only when I click on save, I will be using one API to save that new value. One API call. Right, now another thing that can happen is, let's say I'm adding a new to-do here, and I'm saying, let's go with pick up kids again. I say I want to go and pick up the kids, so I've added that, and then I decide to go out of the app. Let me just get this. I decide to actually go out of the app, which is not working now, and I actually forget about it, and the app gets closed. Just see quickly. And now when I open up the app again after it's been closed, it's loading. Right, at this stage it goes back to the previous version. So what we need to do here is to stop this version from running, and let's just rerun the newest version here. Let's just run this. There we go. Okay, let's just rerun this again. So we've got the newest version right from the start. So when we exit the app, it will actually be the new app still running. Right, so you can see that when the app runs again, that pick up kids from school did actually not save because we didn't program that. So in the next video, we will have a look at the life cycle of a Flutter application. Just a quick overview. You can go and read about it, but I just want to build it into this app so that you can also see how you can handle some lifecycle events. And if there's a lifecycle event, like for example, I am clicking there or there and it closes down the app, what happens? Because I can still go to the app now and it opens the app. So the app wasn't closed. So this is a lifecycle event that happened. And also, normally if you click this thing and mine's not working, you get a list of all the open apps and you can swipe them away. So I'll run I'll create a new virtual device for the next video to show you that. So if you click there and you swipe away, that's also lifecycle events. You actually close the app or you do whatever you want with the app as a user. I mean, most of us just open up and swipe and then it's gone. And maybe the user forgot to save. So I'll show you how you can include that also in your app. So that and maybe more in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.